Hey Adrian, so I wanted to create this short video for you to kind of show what I've done for the unit tracking for asset management on Atlas. Okay, so basically I'm going into the rent roll reports. I'm going to get the next month. So I already did September. I'll collect October update. Okay. And then I'm going to export this in Excel. And once I open this here, I'll show you what I do. So this is what I just downloaded from uh, Appfolio, but this is the spreadsheet that I built. It has our underwriting information over here, so the unit number and the floor plan that it was in when we did our underwriting back on March 12th. The floor plan that it was labeled, so simply modern or classic. Um, and just to kind of keep the same metrics, so bed, bath, square foot, and then the market rent and the rent that was based on that rent roll. So down here is basically the information, and I added in the other unit mixes since we've added those now. So you could see that there was 136 units. We had 2 classics, 74 simply modern, 3 classics, 27 simply modern, 2 classics, and 28 simply moderns. There was no simply modern plus or elites. However, we did change that, I see, basically in the first month. And so, this is the total rent, and then it broke it down to the average. So I did that basically for each of the following months. So we've got the acquisition date of July 9th and what we were calling each of the unit types at acquisition. But then in month 1, we changed the names on some of these from classic to elite and so on. And so down here at the bottom, it shows basically the original count, floor plan count for each of these floor plans, and then the next month it will show how many units are associated with each of these floor plans and how that changed, and the total should be 0 because it's a balance, right? It's a reconcile, and then shows what the market rent was for that month. So I downloaded the rent roll for July, August, and September, and basically entered in the unit type, the status, market rent, and the unit rent to basically come up with the market rents for each of the unit types. And then these rows show the averages of each of those unit types. The change, so the dollar change and the percent change for the months for these different unit types. And then for the hell of it, I just also included like what the vacancy status was for each of the notifications here, or the statuses, and then showing what the status is for each one, the percentage to add up to 100%, and then which ones are applied towards occupancy and which ones were applied towards vacancy. So that's what I'm tracking each month. The rows here are sorted alphabetically, or numerically, I should say, by the unit number. So when I download the rent roll, so enable editing. So this is the rent roll for October 31st. So I basically delete the top half here, and then add in a filter, and then I sort everything numerically. So now everything's sorted so it matches, and then I just copy and paste. So copy all the units. So go back here, and this is for, oh, I didn't copy over October. So all you have to do is copy September and then paste. All the formulas should, cover, continue on. I'm gonna delete all this. Okay, delete. All right, come back to this. And then paste the values. So just paste it in all the unit types. The status, current, all the way up to here. Paste. And then the market rent and the monthly rent. So market rent, monthly rent. And paste that in here. Okay, so it's also important to make sure that we, if there's any zeros in these rents, that we just remove them, because the zero changes the average calculation. So just let me reapply the filter, and then look for any zeros. Get rid of these two zeros so it doesn't affect the averages. Okay, and then so 199,000 and then 105,000 should match. 199 and 105, and the occupancy shows at 56.6. 56.6. Bam. So, and then we could see the rate change. So the market rate changed. It increased by $6 or 0.4%. And the monthly rate changed by $8. And so you can see the unit change for each floor plan here. So making sure, everything. And I also got these rows down here that show like the check, just to make sure that, if there's anything that needs to be double checked. So all these are showing that they're fine. However, like I've noticed, the average rent, it's like really what's the right way to calculate the average rent. And so like what these averages are doing is it's the average if function. So it's taking the average out of the units. So it's specifying, which unit that it's looking at, which is this one over here. But for some reason it's saying divide by 0. So I'm just going to say if error in this, then I'm just going to make it blank. And then copy this formula down. Okay, so, and this is like the funny thing is like, so how this average is calculating is the average of all these units. But how this average is calculating is doing the sum product. So taking the average, multiplying it by the actual units. But you can see here, it's different by $63. So, this is probably debatable. Is like, what's the right way to calculate the average in-place rents? This is just the average of everything up here. The other way we can do it is just simply by doing, the monthly rent divided by the number of units. Yeah, so then that doesn't make sense either, because now we have a lot of them that are unrented, sort of thing. So, yeah, this one's kind of a goofy one. So, love to hear your thoughts on that. But everything else seems like it's working out all right. So we got, just looking at this here, we've got, well, let's just go here, see the unit change. we didn't really change any of the units. What it's doing is, unit change. Why is that? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so the previous month it was 2. This month it's 2. So it's showing that there was no change, zero change in how we're converting these units and the rents. So if there's any other kind of way you want to look at this, let me know. I'm going to keep filling this out for November and then create the template for December. So we have that. But yeah, this is a way for us to check to see how many units changed each month as we renovated them. And it also is tracking each unit, when it converted into that sort of thing. So yeah, hopefully that all makes sense. Let me know if something doesn't make sense to you. So I tried to capture basically everything that we would want as far as like reporting and kind of seeing how we're tracking our overall changes and rate increases and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'd be curious to see what Red IQ says is the average monthly in-place rents. And how it calculates that. So anyways, that's it. Let me know if you have any questions.